That was very impressive. All right, guys. Game number 3 to be set up kind of shortly between Eternal Dreamers versus Quetzal. Stay tuned.
Awesome! Looks like we're going to be playing on Belshir Vestige this time.
Yeah, and this is a map I really do enjoy playing on. We're gonna have currently looking at having another ZVP for you guys, so stay tuned. This game is just about to kick off as this player is ready up.
Absolutely. And on the subject of good news, both Belshir Vestige, ZVP, all of that I'm classifying as good news. I also found my cigarette.
Oh, where was it, man? Where was it hiding?
It was actually in my top dresser drawer. I have no idea how it got there. I imagine sometime last night I decided to hide it from my cat, but I don't remember doing it.
Alright, we're just waiting for Denver to ready up.
No problem, no problem. Sometimes players just have to calm down, collect themselves, maybe grab a drink. Anything can happen, in a situation like this. So you want to be ready. I mean, if you even think you might have to slightly tinkle, you go do that shit before the game.
Oh yeah, don't believe me, there's nothing worse than getting that urge to release all of the liquids inside of your body while you're trying to play an intense game of StarCraft.
When you phrase it like that, I'm gonna go pee now.
No worries. Meanwhile, while I have you all here in chat, I'd just like to sit there and throw out a quick question. What is your favourite keyboard? I used to be using a TT Esports G Mecha, but now I'm currently sitting on the Black Widow Tournament Edition, and I find it to be a much more impressive keyboard.
No, you're good.
Alright, we're ready. We're going to kick this off. Game number 3 between Quetzal versus Eternal Dreamers.
Absolutely. I appreciate you waiting for me.
No worries, man.
As you stated it, I was coming back. Alright, so this is gonna be Belshir Vestige. This is a real interesting map as a Zerg player. There are 3 exits from your natural and third. So as far as like getting flanks and wraparounds, this is a Zerg wet dream. And that's really what a Zerg wants to do. As we saw in that last game, you know, force fields are good, but if you can get a good surround, you can waste most of the sentry energy. And that kills the attack immediately. So this is going to be a very strong map for our Zerg player, in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm in two minds about this map now. I watched Value dismantle EG's machine on this map as in a ZVP matchup, and it was quite interesting how he did.
PVZ, you mean?
Yeah, PVZ. And yeah, it was incredible. But basically, Protoss that just like to sit behind the cannon walls and get that Void Ray Archon Templar Mothership Colossus composition just seem unstoppable. Like, what do you do as a Zerg to deal with that?
What was the comp again?
Archons, Templar, Colossus, the Mothership. So he got the Mothership core.
Mutalisks.
Had...
All you need are Mutalisks. Mutalisk Roach.
Oh man, it was a ridiculous composition. EG's machine tried Swarm Host and it just didn't work, basically.
Yeah.
One big volley, one kind of big swoop, and War Value's Protoss army was just on top of it, and then just stormed and just wrecked everything.
It's interesting you bring up that game, because Bryce actually talked to me about that match and what I would have done there, and I'm telling you exactly what I told him. Upgrade Roaches, armor, not attack, armor. But all the rest of your gas go into upgraded Mutalisks. If your opponent attacks you, you basically base race him. You have spine crawlers and stuff everywhere. This is a great map for spine crawlers because of all the narrow gaps that makes it really hard for the Protoss army to get a concave. Sure, Colossus can become an issue, but he stops making Colossi when he sees Mutalisks. I promise that.
Very possible.
Anyways,
Storm, how do you directly engage that army?
You don't. That you never directly engage that army. That's the beauty of it. But we do have a cannon rush going now. This is a great position to cannon rush when the Zerg is in this position. Because of the way the minerals have that huge gap behind it, cannon rushes are super powerful. And Quackers is holding this off properly. However, he did not pull enough drones, in my personal opinion, because the Lings, yes, they're killing off the rest of the cannons, even getting a probe, but he's cutting it close. Okay, actually Denvar just going ahead and choosing to back off. I like that. The Lings came out very, very promptly for Quackers, making some very solid decisions. Still a little risky, but he's going to get an economic benefit from that risk.
Yeah, a bit of an investment here for Denver to get that kind of cannon rush going. No real success out of this. He did force out a lot of Zerglings and some lost mining time, not to forget. So that's really nice. Following this up now with like a single gas is getting his natural, second gas going down. Things being a little bit delayed here after the kind of the mineral investment he had to do a little bit earlier. Also delayed his natural nexus, but With this cannon finishing up, I can't imagine these Zerglings doing too much unless he can get the run by, but with 150
He probably
minerals
won't
baked,
even commit to it.
yeah, I would just imagine him getting a nice lock off, but he's going to give it a crack. Here he goes, just running by. Denver completely kind of being caught with his pants down. 4 Zerglings make their way into the main, and this is going to be so annoying if Quackers can keep on top of this.
This is actually a really bad position for the Protoss player because, even though, you know, the Ling harassment is not going to kill any probes, it is going to distract mining time. And, oh wow, so that was actually really sloppy there by Denvar, letting those probes die. But the big thing is he's got 4 Lings in his base and can really lose scouting potential. He might even try to delay whatever tech he's going when the Cybercore finishes. Oh my god. You remember the mineral walking we saw in the 6th hole?
Yep.
Remember the mineral walk? That's what needs to be done in this situation. And it's not.
Yeah, he's kind of just like, alright, I'm going to continue to keep mining, and then when I can, I'm going to pull probes and get them to attack. But that's not the right decision-making to do right now. Because, well, as you can see here, he's cleaned up a total of 8 probes, taking a massive lead. It's now 17 to 24. The third base is going up, relatively uncontested. So there's going to be a lot of droning being happening in these phases.
28 drones to 17 probes right now.
It's a huge lead for this early in the stages in the game for
Now,
Quackers here.
we do have a Stargate on the way, so yes, the Zerg has done a lot of damage, but now the scripts are flipped. It's Denvar's time to do some damage. Will the Phoenix be able to kill off drones, or are there going to be Spore Crawlers and Queens just in the nick of time?
I've got some Zerglings out here in the map trying to get some scouting information, or at least determine what's being built here at the front of Denvar's base. It does look
You know
like
the OP thing of being a Zerg player? Lings are only 25 minerals each. You get 50 for 2, but 25, and you get a lot of scouting information for 25 minerals.
Yeah, Zerg is literally the race that should not complain about scouting. Between Overlords, Changelings, Sacrificial Lings, Borrowed Lings, Creep.
It's great being the Swarm, my friend. Oh, and the Overlord going ahead and scouting the Phoenix. Not only the Phoenix, but he's also scouting the Chronos on the Stargate, continuing even after the Phoenix pops out. He can actually see that another Phoenix is being made inside of that Stargate, if you actually zoom in and notice that. But there's gateways coming in as well. Oh, it pops out just at the wrong time. Darn. But 2 gateways coming up as a follow-up. This may turn into a timing attack, or more likely it'll be taking a third, as he did just go ahead and kill off that scouting link.
So the Phoenix are on the prowl. They're on the hunt to like snipe down those Overlords, just bringing back a vision of cardboard animations as the Overlords sitting there with that dull face being torn apart while Phoenixes just dance around them. But we do see some Queens out. The Creeps are really nice. We see Spore Crawlers now covering basically the mineral lines in these bases here. So I think Quackers is pretty well defended up, and now taking a 30 supply lead. Realistically, unless this transitions, I guess, into maybe some kind of all-in or a Phoenix-orientated with the abuse of the gateway units and just kind of lift and kill everything. I think Quackers is really taking a nice lead into this game.
Well, Quackers has nearly double the supply.
Yeah.
That's really all you need to know about this game. Is it's 50 supply to 85. That's a 35 supply difference, and it was even more significant when I first made that comment.
Alright. Not to mention, Quackers now following this up with the Hydralisk Den, so this is one way that Phoenix can kind of force out a unit composition, I guess, but...
Well, Hydras aren't that good against Phoenix. I say that in complete seriousness. You need a huge amount of Hydralisks to actually do well against Phoenixes. Otherwise, the Phoenix can just lift the Hydra, and Phoenix do extra damage to light armored units.
The only drawback I can say from that is when they're lifting, the ones that are lifting can't shoot anymore, so...
Indeed.
It's kind of like a DPS versus a DPS battle.
It takes 4 Phoenix to kill 1 Hydra and 1 lift. So you actually use 1/4 of your Phoenix count. Say you're at 12, you would use 3 of them to hold units up. But you kill the Phoenix so quickly that you can just continue lifting, and it's almost instantaneous.
See muscular augments, six Hydralisks in production. There's no 6 guys that are being taken down just yet here for Quackers, which I really feel he needs to do if he wants to continue with this kind of leading more into the gas-heavy sort of side of the mid to late game. Third has been taken here by Denver, who's continuing to clean up the Overlords, but it's too late here for Denver, as Quackers has already scouted the location of the third, so he's taking a fourth in, I suppose, response, but Proxy Pylon might render this completely inert.
Some really good play coming out of both players, very scrappy. That's exactly what I like to see in a clan war of this magnitude.
Oh, he gets a cancellation on the fourth, but the third here under a heavy siege by a bunch of roaches and the zerglings. It looks like Denver forced to give this up as well. The Hydralisk is sort of catching up with the rest of the unit composition. Muscular Augments just finished this Hydralisk, now basically sprinting across the map, and it looks like he might do a little bit of a frontal assault into the natural.
Well, we do have Robotics Bay just finishing up now, so with the number of Roach Hydras that have been forced out of Quackers at this stage, Colossi are going to do very strongly against this if the Protoss can stay alive, and that's a big solid if. The force fields are really the only thing standing between him and death right now.
Yeah, the tickle beams are definitely trying to give what it's worth, but the Pylons goes down, deep parrying the cannons, nothing left here but sentries. Quackers on the offensive, moving into his natural 80 supply here for Denver, who's really just trying to hold on with the deal.
100 supply behind now.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be basically the end of the game, and Denver taps out. There's the GG. Quackers takes game number 3.
Eternal Dreamers taking the lead now for the first time in this clan war. It is 2-1. Who will Quetzal send out next in order to stay in this?
I don't know, man. Pretty crazy series right now. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to have a short intermission. Feel free to go get yourselves a drink or some snacks, and we'll be back shortly.
I'm gonna go grab a soda personally.
Good choice. Just a quick question to everyone who's watching the stream. What is your favourite ladder map and why? Please post it in the chat. Wouldn't mind seeing some answers. That would be
Yeah,
lovely.
absolutely. How about yours?
My favourite map as current, definitely Belshare Vestige.
Gotcha. Why?
I just find it to be the most intricate map in all matchups in TVT, TVZ, and TVP. I find it to be very balanced. TVT can be a
Gotcha.
bit of a heartache, but it's the kind of map I've gotten used to, probably more so than any.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really enjoy it. But you know, I'm sure there are others out there that have varied other opinions. What about your own personal favorite?
I'm thinking. Uh, I really like Neoplanet S actually, but Akalon Waste is such a good map as well. It's a toss up between the two. I also like Newkirk Precinct. I like really tiny maps despite being a Zerg player. People say it's a eccentricity of mine, but either way, Akalon.
Akalon. Yeah, that's also a very interesting map. I don't like that map in TVP, just because I feel Protoss shouldn't lose on that map.
I see. Well, I don't have to worry about TVP, so.
It's so good for drop defense. It's so good to just get 4 base, and well, we all know what happens when Protoss get on 4 base in TVP. They just feel unstoppable, would be the word, because once they have Storm and Templar, you have a hard time unless you have a ridiculous ghost count. But then when you have a ridiculous ghost count, they just get more Colossus. And when you have to get more Vikings, then they just go bigger Gateway Army. And yeah, I've had like anywhere between half an hour to 50-minute games just because Protoss refuse to die and always somehow just have more Templar hidden away.
Okay.
But we are going to continue to start this game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a TVP on Whirlwind. Eternal Dreamer's Standard versus Quetzal's MVP.
I'm actually really excited about this because MVP, as I mentioned earlier, is a huge idol of mine. Like, I used to follow him in Age of Empires. I didn't even like that game. Like, I hated that game. I didn't like playing it. I didn't like watching it. But one night, I was, just scrolling around Twitch, and I found him playing it, and his style was just so bizarre that I was instantly hooked, and I watched, 5, 6, 7, 8 different casts of his. Well, not casts, but streams of his, just over the course of a couple of months. I just went through this little phase of watching him. So it's kind of interesting seeing him now that he switched over to Starcraft 2. I wonder if, his style is going to be as bonkers as it was in Age of Empires. I've literally never seen him play Starcraft, so I'm very, very anxious to see what we've got coming. Eager, probably a better word, to see what he's got coming up.
And likewise, I'm pretty interested to see what this Terran does, because that's just how I am. I love Terrans. As a Terran player myself, I basically just strive to understand the thought process of other Terrans, but...
You Terran fag.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. At the same time, more recently, I've tried to take a bit more of an interest in the other races and how they work, just because the understanding is fantastic for me to have. Not only
as a caster?
Not only as a caster, but as a player, to know how the race works mechanically just helps me, I suppose, pick apart them and come out with a stronger victory beforehand. Like, a lot of players...
I understand. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. A lot of players, when they start off, they're like, you just focus on the one race, just focus on the one race. And even though that's all well and good, you need to have a fundamental understanding on how the other races work. So I think even just playing random and playing around with builds that you find on things like Team Liquid, maybe Gosu builds, Imba builds, or, find them off of Reddit, is just...
Plug for Imba Asfuts, my good friend. Yeah, dude, I agree almost... probably 90% with what you said, except what you said about random, but let's start with the good and then we'll go to the bad. Good things that you said, I absolutely agree. The concept of a race makes a huge difference. If you know what a race's weaknesses and strengths are, for example, in this matchup, Protoss is really, really slow. They're only good in a huge clump, so you're always waiting for your slowest unit, like, say, Colossi. Well, that makes you extremely vulnerable to drops, and that is one thing that happens time and time again in TVP is medevac drops from multiple angles. It is one of the most used tactics in this matchup, and that's why, because the Terran player understands the Protoss' situation. Now, you could apply that also to Zerg versus Terran. You know, Zerg has a pretty hard time defending all their angles as well, unless they spend a lot of extra drones on static defense. So just by dropping, you can force the drone count to down just by dropping and not killing a single unit, because he's going to make spore crawlers. Now, we do have Probe Scout getting targeted off here. That probe going down in a heroic blaze of fury, seeing the expansion, Nexus goes down. Immediate, beautiful play right there.
Yes, the one thing he did really kind of figure out was there was at least a gas being mined here from Standard. He did scout the reactor. The follow-up to this from Standard is obviously looking to be some kind of marine mine drop, and I don't mind this decision at all.
Absolutely. Now, just talking about the random aspect of what you had said, I don't think players playing random, like committing to being a random player, is a good thing, because you have 1/3 of the experience of your opponent in any given matchup. It's required because you're playing 3 different races. Now, doing it temporarily just to get an understanding, very solid idea. I just wanted to add that caveat.
Yeah, that's fine. I used to actually be a Protoss player when Starcraft 2 came out, which is relatively interesting. I remember the days of the Chimerian Amulet, getting that plus 50 energy for the Templar and basically just living off of storms and just decimating people in any kind of game.
Protoss hasn't recovered since. But yeah, minor aggression here. They're just poking at each other right now, trying to get an idea of what units are being made and if they should stay defensive or economic, or if they want to start making some aggression because their opponent's being too greedy, or conversely, their opponent's got a huge swath of units coming at them, similar to what's happening right now.
Ooh, MVP getting a little bit overzealous here, basically just giving up the watchtower to these Marines, so it does look like Standard taking some nice map control, but he's going to forfeit it. That's such an interesting decision here. We do see an Oracle now moving out from the north end side of MVP's base.
The bane of every Terran.
Oh, don't even get me started. Proxy Oracles is just something I absolutely hate, especially the versions of it where they cut warp gates, they cut the mothership core, they cut the stalker, and then you end up with an Oracle in your base by about 4 minutes 30 if it's proxied, and you have 3 Marines, and you just can't stop it.
Well, luckily for our Terran player, this is not proxy, and it's only going to be a 1 Oracle build followed up by a mothership core and a couple of gateways, so he's going into a ground-based army after this. This is literally just for minor harassment.
This is an interesting development, like, to open up with a Stargate and then not actually commit to any kind of aggression, like, unless he makes plans to maybe transition into, like, Phoenix Colossus. I don't understand what the idea of going to Stargate was, unless he wanted to pull things like Oracles and then just waltz in and clean up a whole mineral line in about 10 seconds, if not faster, because Oracles are good that way.
He can utilize it later if his opponent is forced down a certain composition. Vikings are always going to be used in this matchup to counter Colossus, which he's already working on. So he may be able to do a Phoenix switch at some point he detects Vikings. It's just a brainstorm, though, because there's no telling what this guy's going to do. Like I said, in Age of Empires, he had a bizarre, wonky style, and I fully expect that to translate into StarCraft.
Both players actually playing this relatively greedy, and I don't mind this decision at all from Standard. Given the architecture of the map and how it's laid out, greedy players on this generally move out to be a lot stronger, and with the Oracle, the way that it looks like it's positioned is more for just basically scouting information. The ability